I think, in addition to our points, the professionalism, I think, is a big factor in it. And when I'm wearing the hat of a yarn shop owner, when I look for patterns, I want to make sure that it's well written. I look at it, from the design eye too, and that it's readable, something that, I as a shop wouldn't have to help my customers a lot because of the errors in the pattern, which right now we don't have a physical shop, but I have a really close community where I live, and our bidders come to, they know they can come to the house and look at yarn if they want to, or come to the booth to help or help, and sometimes they bring these patterns that are not edited, they're not great, they call the designer doesn't respond to emails or anything, and they try to go back to the yarn shop from which they bought it, and not help at all. So I think that's another really important factor to being successful, is to make sure that you write a really nice, legible pattern that's easy to understand. And granted, you'll have your own voice and your own style, but I think, that's it. That's what I look for in my patterns. I won't buy it if it's poor on paper.
And when she says she puts her local yarn shop hat on her owner hat on, she actually has that hat.
I just say perseverance, I think. That's the other thing I have to add.
Perseverance and a common vision, but also from my perspective, don't be afraid to keep it very simple. That so many designers feel a pressure to create something that's just earth-shatteringly extraordinary and strange and peculiar. And it's a sweater with 2 necks, and they somehow bind together and create it. No, it doesn't need to be that way. The simplicity can be really, really beautiful and appealing. And then from my yarn standpoint, but really this depends on who your client is. I love seeing patterns that have a little bit more detail about what yarns go in them, and Ann Hansen does this with Knit Spot. She gives several different possible yarns. Obviously, that's not possible in certain contexts, but if you're an individual, an independent designer, I love to know that you've really thought about the perfect yarns for this pattern and why, and not just this is a pattern that uses 72 skeins of fluffy number 452. Go buy the yarn now. Cha-ching.
I think it's important to recognize, to point out, and for maybe somebody who's aspiring to be a designer to recognize that there are a lot of different ways to be successful in this business. There are a lot of different avenues for you to publish your own design, to have somebody else publish them for you, and just to really identify what the goal is and kind of focus on it. Decide what you're going for and focus on it. If you want to become a recognized expert at whatever it is that you're doing, like a public persona, do you want to just design and be behind the scenes and just be churning out sweater after sweater? Do you want to make a boatload of money? So I think that's important. And part of what I'm really looking forward to in this conversation is, we all are in the business of either designing things and selling them to somebody, or buying designs from somebody, and sort of identifying what are the best practices in each of those permutations.
What I would add, and I think that you all have really made good points, many of which are what I was going to say. But what I would add to it is that let me just backtrack for a second and say that there's a really good reason when you go to art school that you have to take lots of art history. And I think that a really crucial point here is to know what's going on amongst within the industry, what every magazine style is, what every yarn company style is, what other designers are doing, what historically has been done, what's going on in ready-to-wear, what Vogue, not just Vogue knitting, but Vogue is showing, what W is showing, what's on the runways. It's really important to know where the public is going to be in 2 years. Okay? And you can get that by doing your homework now with those sort of more cutting edge publications, because trust me, the hand knitting industry is a couple years behind what's going on in Vogue or W, but you can really keep on top of that, which is not at all to diss traditional knitting. However, there's a lot of it already out there. There's a lot of really good patterns already out there. And from the perspective of a yarn company, which is, and I'll say it again, which is very different from what a self-publisher, of course, is doing, or what a media company is doing. We want to sell yarn, to go to your point. That's why we're buying patterns. That's what we're looking for in designs, is something that's going to sell our yarn, not somebody else's yarn. I don't want to publish a pattern that's too generic. I want to publish a pattern that uses my yarns in such a way that someone has to buy my yarn to make that pattern. So not only knowing the history, but knowing what your target is. If you want to design for Prism, then you better know what my look is. You better know what I already designed. Okay? I'm not going to buy a pattern that's my personal look. I'm going to buy something that's different from what I do. And trust me when I tell you that people present things to me, and you know, I've got a whole lot of history, a lot of years of knitting. I can look at it and say, oh, yeah, I can do that. And I can go write a pattern, and I never do that. If somebody shows me something original, I buy the pattern from them. So from a yarn company perspective, and it is really very specialized. If you want to design for yarn companies, know what their look is, know what their yarns do, and target that. And that will get you sales within the yarn companies, although I'm not sure it's the most lucrative way to go.
Conversely, if your customer is a retail yarn store or a group of retail yarn stores, you don't want to be specific about the yarn.
That's
because each one will have a different group of yarns that they stock, and if you want to be successful selling patterns wholesale, you have to do exactly the opposite and write patterns that can use any number of the workhorse yarns that are out there that all the stores stock. So that's kind of what I meant about knowing your customer and really making sure that they're successful, which is entirely different.
So, anybody, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, just so that everyone can hear. I've been around probably as long as Laura has. And I'm glad to hear what Clara said about ease and simplicity, because I always say to designers that easy is not easy, because to design something that's really simple is not the most easy thing to do, but it definitely, for a knitter, they lots of times don't want to do really complicated things that are like what you said, something that has, you know, these really extreme design. They want to just have some fun and sit and knit. So it's great to have really easy, simple, simplistic designs, and it's not the easiest thing for designers to do. You have to be really, you know, understand what that's about.
I think it's important for designers to realize that most people who are knitting, I mean, the final product is designated for real life actual use, you know, whether they're wearing it or somebody else is wearing it. And, you know, that cutting edge or that sort of cleverness for the sake of cleverness is not always what you want to be.
So this is another